doing a few vocal exercises just to make sure the levels are correct. We've got a mixing board set up. I've got my mic set up. We've got the recording set up. I'm happy with the levels there. It's not too loud and it's not too low. So I am using Audacity, and you can see the positioning here from the mic. And this is a XM8500 cardio dynamic microphone, so it should just pick up vocals from the front. Just need to be careful with the pips and pops and pops and pops. I don't like to have that big pop filter, so I might get something for that. Okay, so what we're doing, this is going to be a live walk along with me. I'm going to record episode 2 of Working for Yourself, my podcast on ZulfTalks, and that's the episode we're going to concentrate on. At any point, well, I'm doing it live to Reddit at the moment, so if you have any questions, Reddit, drop them in chat. Anybody else listening anywhere else, drop comments in the old comment boxeronios. So what I will do now is I've recorded that. I'm going to play that back and see how that beauty sounds, because that's the first thing we want to do. Does it sound correct and nice? So mixing board set up, I've got my mic set up, we've got the recording set up. I'm happy with the levels there. It's not too loud and it's not too low. Okay, that sounds good. That will do the old job. Mute the desktop audio and let's go for take 1. Oh yeah, how did it do that thing, What was that? Yeah, that. Okay, so episode 2. Okay, that's good. We're going to take it from the top. First, we leave a little gap. Making a quiet but confident start early on working for yourself. So hello and thanks for joining me on episode 2. I'm working on my new series. We are on season 12. I wanted to make these episodes a little bit more focused on topics individually. So well done for making it onto episode 2. I want to continue the story from where we left off. We were back at college, right? Yeah. So if you missed the last episode, which is episode 1 of this series, be sure to check that out to give you a bit of context. These episodes are standalone. However, I think when you have the starting and the ending, it might make more sense because it's a type of journey we're going through together. So this episode is the perfect place to speak about friendships and finding yourself. And throughout this episode, I'm going to refer to a few of the stories from college days. So we are still from episode 1 at college and moving over to education and how that plays a big part in where you end up, especially if you're going to be working for yourself. So we'll start by looking at having the right teachers to support your ideas, taking charge and having hobbies. So this is going to be a big area and I'm going to cover it from the point of view. If you're thinking, what, was my college life good? Was it enjoyable? Did I get the most I could have from it? Let me give you my story. So working back to where we are, we're in college, we're doing information communication technology, and that involves different lessons, different classes. You have to go between the school, you have to go between the college in different areas for different subjects. So you may be doing computing in terms of networking one day. Another day you might be doing databases. Another day you might be doing Excel and PowerPoint or presenting. So these all are little core skills that, looking back on college life, I can appreciate how they fit into day-to-day life. That will mean now I do a lot of what I learned in college. You'd be surprised. You wouldn't think it. You're wasting your time here. Why would we look at database? why does he want me to make a database of dogs and cats and what breeds I have what quantities? But now I remember doing that in Access, Microsoft Access. And when I later moved on to working data analyst, that was a big part of you working. We'll catch up on that in later episodes. That'll probably be episode 4 or 5, where we actually look at the job I get from where we started. We're only on episode 2 now, so you've got that to look forward to. So make sure you stay tuned for the future episodes. It's gonna be an absolute party, people. So continuing now, as I was saying, there are some things from college that you can take and use in later life. So keep that in mind and try and do your best to get the core of why you're doing what you're doing. So in my example, I look at one example, presentation skills, using PowerPoint to make a slideshow with information which then you talk about later on in a presentation to the class. So what did I do my topic on? It was knives and the UK. So knife crime and facts and figures. It was along those lines. So I kept mine very free flowing. I had about 5 PowerPoint presentation slides, but on each slide I just had like a vector image of an emoji type thing. So one with a person, second one with a knife, third one with a kitchen, fourth one with police, fifth one with a hospital. And then I free flowed it, as in not gift of the gab. You don't want to say gift of the gab, but some people are able to look at it and say, okay, I'm going to talk about this for this section. I give myself 3 minutes and break it down to 3 lots of 3, which makes nice hearing and easy to understand, which is basically how I'm actually filming and recording my podcast. So that same history old technique is still working for me to make sure that I'm covering consistent points in a nice enough format so you know what to expect. Like, for example, right now we're in the meat of the story, which is section 2, and then 3 will be reflecting on what we talked about and then looking further into what's to come, keeping you snippets of section 3, episode 3. So that does make sense. It is a nice way of doing it. Let me go back to the story. I went on a bit of a tangent there. So I'm doing my PowerPoint presentations. A lot of people did PowerPoint presentations, but they made that historic mistake of putting loads of information on there. So that meant they had like a screen up. So people were reading and trying to listen to him at the same time. A couple of people did that and it wasn't the best way. So all I did was I thought, if I was listening to someone speaking, I'd prefer to listen to their story and just have a visual to give me a sight of, okay, I can attach his story to an image. So in my example, that was the little vector images on a plain background just standing out individually. And then having the story link back to that image. So I started along the lines of this person. Okay, so here you can see there's an individual who likes to go out quite a lot. He goes out quite late and does nightclubs and he does parties. And there's something that isn't quite right with him. This means he has had a few arguments with people who are often from a gang type background, and he feels like he needs to protect himself, and he feels wrongly that he should have some type of weapon with him. Push a button, next slide comes up with the knife. And then we talk about, did you know in the UK there's a big problem with knife crime? It's very hard to challenge and it's hard for the police to monitor because knives are available to most people in day-to-day living kitchens. It can even be scissors used as weapons or anything else of that kind shop. And then it goes over to another screen image and then that continues, the story continues. If you want me to go through that, let me know. I can make this story. I remember it, not word for word, but I remember the type of area I took it to, and it basically went down that route with then going to him being hurt with the knife he thought would protect himself, and then it ended with him being in hospital and the hospital trying to help him and recover him, resuscitate him, get him back. So that was my story. Very hard hitting, very hard hitting, and the audience enjoyed it. I got really high marks. And it was more the case of telling a story of something that could happen as a result of something else and giving the main points that you don't want to do this because this is how it relates to your day-to-day life. Bam. That's your overall key arching thing. And in addition to this, because I did that presentation in that class, the teachers liked the way I spoke. So they kind of brought me back on additional topics. So things like presenting, photography, video. Mr. Chad, I think his name was Mr. Chad. He had a really nice Sony camera. And those days used to be tapes. So you would have like not VHS, but high five, I think was the format. Or was it VHS-C? There's a couple of different formats of old school tapes. And I used to record in HD. In those days, HD was like 720 by 1280. So that's like going back a few years. And I looked at the camera and I thought, you know what, that sounds interesting. I went home and then looked some research around photography, videography, and slowly looked at different options. There's loads of great ideas out there, providing you decide, okay, I like this. I'm going to do some research. Do I like it enough to actually go and do that full time? I'm not sure. At that point, I didn't really know what I want to do, which direction I'm going to go. So it's good to have the option there to say, okay, I'll try this. If I like it, at least I've got this as an option that I can pursue. And then I did a number of photography. I got a cheap camera. My first camera was a Canon 500D. And you'll be surprised to know I still use that to live stream over on Reddit as my main camera in horizontal mode. So I still have my first camera and I still use it. And because of that, I was lucky enough to have a few diversions during my career. I did a few different things. However, where I am now is what I am doing from college days. I'm probably one of the lucky ones that was able to follow through, continue it. And I think it's important that everybody can do it. It's just the case of focusing down on something, making sure that you get to a point that A, you enjoy it. If you don't, able to move to something else that you can try if you enjoy that. So you have got the option there to look around, give yourself that option, and having good teachers that see the potential in you definitely helps. So I was lucky in that sense. Most people are, there is an element of luck in most people's success. At some point, you were doing something you liked, someone else saw that, and they said, you know what, he's good at that, let's give him an opportunity. So is that luck, or is that you showing you can do it and someone acknowledging, yes, you can? I'll leave that for you to decide. So considering how this episode 2 is going, I want to reflect just to give you an idea to say, you know what, college, university, or even higher education is a good point to start, and you can just mold where you want to go in life. So I want to take this moment to say thank you for listening to me on this episode. And in the next episode, I'm going to speak about my first hobby that turned into a career. So make sure to check out episode 3. Perfect. Okay, so what I did there was I free flowed. I had a few episodes on my old device. Can I show you this? So I had a drive and had a few bullet points noted down, and I knew I would speak about each bullet point for a few moments. So all I did there was free flowed for that conversation, reflecting back. Okay, so anyway, my podcast section is filmed. That's the main chunk, which is like section 2. I have an intro where I do some vocal exercises and get you in the right mindset. So today we're going to get into the right mindset. Let's do a quick few nice long breaths to get ourselves in a nice mindset for today's episode. So in and out, that kind of stuff. So once that's done, then this episode plays. After this, they've got a little segmentation. Make sure to check me out on Apple Podcast, leave a review, amazing, bam, 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 and it goes straight on to episode 3. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to edit this episode right now on this very screen to show you how I rock this beauty. So we have recorded the podcast, and that is in Audacity, nothing special. We've done about 8 minutes, well, 11 minutes to be precise. So first thing we're going to do is I'm going to come in here, go right up to the front. You can't see all of this. Let's go here. Yep. Okay. So here you can see that's my quiet when I was leaving a couple of minutes. We're going to go on to audio track and do waveform dB. Now you'll see all of a sudden this stuff's appeared here, which wasn't there before. That's the slight background noise which we're going to get rid of. We're going to eradicate it. How are we doing that? Well, before we do that, let's just zoom out. That's the full waveform. Select all of it. I have a macro setup which says apply macro and it's called ZulfTalks. What does that macro do? You can save a macro like this, which basically goes through a few steps and does it for your voice. So I already know the mic I'm using, the setup I've got. I will add a little bit of bass and treble. I'll add a compressor. I'll normalize it, and that's it. So there's 3 steps there that will automatically happen. So let's go apply ZulfTalks. Let that do its little magic. Applying compressor. That audio will be ready, nice and oomph if that's a word. And now I will zoom back into the bits where I was quiet. So here's a little bit where I was quiet. Let me play that back to you. You might hear the background noise. You probably didn't hear that. 1 minute. So that was a background noise. I need to get rid of the background noise first of all. So I'm going to grab that, go tools or effect even. Can't see all of this. I'll talk you through it. Effects, noise reduction. And then you get a little pop-up, get noise profile. So now I know what the profile is. Select all, same thing again. Effect, noise reduction. But this time I'm going to get, instead of get noise profile, I'm going to apply it. So you'll see here. There you go. So see how that there is gone slower, lower. I'll go back to the start because there may have been a different noise here. Same thing here. Effect, noise reduction, get noise profile, select all, effect, noise reduction, and okay. And you'll see that line go full on flat, which would mean that there's no background noise, which is very essential. See that there? So now there's no background noise over here. And then I'll just go through and get rid of any excess bits that don't need to be there. Zoom out. A few moments here where I did a bit of long waits. Get rid of that. Move towards the end, and the end is over here. Get rid of the end. I can add a bit of music into this, but first let's go waveform. And that, I could probably normalize that. Let's go effect, normalize, and I'll normalize it to -1. Okay. Okay, maybe I've got a spike somewhere that's stopping that normalizing happening. Let's just have a look. I think it's there. There. Oh, here. There. See that when it normalizes it, that would stop it because it's got a little bit of a spike there. So let's undo the normalize. Okay. Edit, redo, cut, because I'll get rid of the space. And then here, I'm just going to get rid of that little bit of a spike here, which I can do by going bam, effect, and we're just going to go amplify, and I'm going to bring it down a bit. So I've got, yeah, because I said can, and there's a bit of a hiatus. A can was a hiatus. Okay, there. So let's zoom out. Okay, now is there any others I can spot? There's one here, there's one there. Look at that. Okay, same thing applies there. I'm just going to find that spike and get rid of it. That one there. Here we go. What I'll do is I'll pause that and do those few, and I'll come back to you, save you waiting. So I've gone through and got rid of those little, just the little spikes. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. You can see the level of the audio. Go effect, normalize, you'll see it'll just bump it up a slight little bit so it'll sound a bit more beefy. Okay, so that's nice. I'm gonna add a little bit of background, music as I speak, just at a low volume. So let's do that. Okay, so what I've done there is I've added a slow little bit of music on the bottom track, and the top is my audio. So I want to make sure that the audio on the bottom is not too loud. I normally go to amplify and I just lower it down to about 21. That's normally a good starting point. It's just a little bit of background, like, ooh. Let's see what it sounds like. For yourself. So hello and thanks for joining. Yeah. So if you missed the last episode, which is episode 1 of this series, be sure to check that out to give you a bit of context. These episodes are standalone. However, I think when you have the starting and the ending, it might make more sense. What quantities? But now I remember doing that in Access, Microsoft Access. And when I later moved on to working data analyst, that was a big. Okay, so where will we at? We are at. I added a bit of music, but I want to add that music at key moments of time. So back that there. I want to start it when I start telling the story. So let's go here. Was my college life good? That's a good point to start the music at, like a bit of ambience in the background there, old chaperonio. Let's. What I might do is I'll just, I might do is just fade in. So effect, fade in, just to slowly. Okay, that's fine. And then here. Okay, perfect. So that is episode 2. There, I've just whacked out an episode 2. There wasn't many mistakes because I've done a few live stream sessions, so I just kind of freestyle it, and as it sounds is as it comes out. That's what you get there, mate. So now I'm gonna go file. Let's select the old chap file, export as MP3. We're gonna whack it into a folder. I'll call it me title, which I've got set up, and I'm gonna export it out. So let me just bring that screen up. Title will be make a quiet but confident start early on working for yourself. That's episode number 2 of series 12. Just bagged that in how long? About 30 minutes, 23 minutes. We might do episode 3. Let me know if you want me to do episode 3. We can carry on with my story. Okay, so here I am on Audacity. Oh, there it was. I was looking for that song and it's there. Okay, so if I do save, I'll load my presets. Let me give you a free. So what I normally do is I load presets already set up, which basically has the details imprinted in the file. So ZulfTalks from trusted creators, working for yourself. This is episode number 2. Album title is working for yourself. Let's go copy paste. These are all just a little logistics. Track title, ZulfTalks podcast. Might just save this. Let me go save, and that's ready for next time. All I'll do is just change the 2 to a 3. Go OK. That's going to start doing its exporting magic. We're going to get an MP3 file ready to go. Boom, shakalak, straight into the old Apple Podcasts, which these are not coming out till the end of November. I've already got about 14 episodes planned, so I'm adding this on the end of that. always like to be ahead. So we're planning, pre-planning. So if I go kaput right now, you can still hear me for a few further months. That'll be a bonus for you, hopefully. Oh, he's come back from the grave and he's doing some episodes. What's he doing? Okay, there, that's done. Let me save this in case I need this again. I'll go save project as, and then Audacity on the old the special drive. We're gonna go access on that right there. Yep. So there you can check this episode. Hopefully by the time this goes live, you will see that episode. I might put a link in the description so you can listen to the final product and how it sounds. There's other stuff that goes in the front and the back, so it makes a nice chunk. Thank you. I'm hoping you found this workflow interesting. Let me know if you want me to do more of these. This is just me doing the stuff and letting you watch me. Check out something over here. It should be coming up on screen. Whack Bamaroni on.